From Moby Dick to Dagon to the fog, the mystery and utter terror of the ocean has loomed heavily in humanity's collective consciousness. And while over here in board game land we've had our share of pirates and piers and particularly grotesque merpeople, it wasn't until Deep Regrets that a game truly honed in on the abyssal horror and utter madness of trolling the ocean. Most rounds, you spend beautifully buoy-shaped dice to press deeper into the ocean and catch fish of natural or more foul inclination, to eventually sell at port, where you can instead spend a round purchasing gear, extra dice for more actions at sea, or even permanently mount your prized catches for point multipliers at the end of the game's 6 rounds, where the value of fish held in hand, mounted, and unspent fish bucks are calculated to determine the winner. The brilliant fulcrum in which the game's thematic and mechanical conceit rests is Regret, a deck of cards that is drawn through a variety of effects, but always upon selling the more foul fishes of the ocean. While the cards have values important to determine who has the most regret at the end of the game, more on that in a bit, it's actually the number of cards that you hold that situates you on the spectrum of sanity versus madness, which importantly impacts the maximum dice available to you and the sale value of fish, both fair, i.e. real world, though still often upsetting sea creatures, or foul, the horrifying beasts of the deep you also find in the shoals. Because of the general ongoing accrual of regret, the game naturally encourages you to sink further into madness without much during game penalty, with the aforementioned end result to be ditching one of your 3 mounted trophies, a point multiplier system both clever and grotesque for having the most at the end of the game, which is not insignificant, but overall just means that you gotta keep a speculative eye out for making sure that you don't end up with the most total value when the game ends. And it's too bad that the game doesn't offer a viable path or incentive for exploring alternatives like a full sanity victory. But as it stands, the system is mechanically interesting and deeply thematic. Which is really where Deep Regrets floats, an incredibly strong and evocative theme reinforced by absolutely disgusting yet gorgeous artwork and character designs, though as a game it's more fun than it is strategic. Sure, there are levers to pull, decisions to be made, but most turns you'll declare, I'm fishing here, and either you can pay for the strength of your catch or get a consolation dink and leave it revealed for someone else to attempt before the end of the round. And with a scant 6 rounds and making port using up that full round, unless you rely on your one-time use lifeboat to return to port mid-round at heavy endgame risk, there's not really enough time or opportunity to get into a loop in the game. And as someone who craves strategic efficiency, I found myself wishing that making port was an action, with empowerment and opportunity costs to account for on a smaller level, rather than sacrificing the full round's fishing fun of the game. But that's not really what Deep Regrets is going for either. At its heart, it's a push your luck game where players spend time for a little bit of preparation, decide how best to spend their clams, and make wise choices about what they're likely to catch based on the depth of the ocean and the smartly foreshadowed small, medium, or large fish on deck, flirting with madness at the fins of some particular unpleasantries that you may or may not regret. One strange turn that I didn't expect to love as much as I do is the solo mode, where you're doing a survey to identify and catalog all of the ocean's fair and less wholesome denizens. It's a campaign mode that fully scraps the madness track, and instead you're just tasked with finding and cashing out fish without throwing them overboard due to madness. You journal your entries, purchase equipment upgrades, the same gear that you'd get through blind, though mitigatable draws from 3 categories in the multiplayer game, to eventually take stock of the whole ocean. It's cozy? Insofar as anything in this game can be described as cozy, yeah, It really is. Contrary to its moniker, the game is neither particularly deep nor something that I regret. It's sardonic and fun, upsetting and enjoyable, with enough gameplay hooks to keep me feeling invested, even if fate's cold touch pervades every fathom of this ocean. There's a certain madness that calls a captain from his rolling hearth and dry roof back to the sea, and deep regrets continues to call out to me. And that's our review. But let me know, what is your favorite fishing game, fair or foul, of all time? Put it in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for being such an awesome community. You know that I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.